is episode 1 because there's so much stuff we're going to need to. Next on Locked on Jazz.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. It is way better to be a Jazz fan right now than it has been for the last little while. Thank you for making Locked on Jazz your first listen. Thank you for making Locked on the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you for becoming an everydayer. A bunch of people did that yesterday. We have the promo code JJJ to give you 1 month free. So glad to have you aboard. Thank you across the board to everybody who's made Locked on what is an absolute pleasure to do this work right now for you. All right, we are going nuts today. Here's what we're doing. I went and for the last 2 hours have been deep diving all of Jaren Jackson's statistical career numbers, and this episode is going to be on Jaren Jackson defensive dive, and then the next episode will be on the on the offensive side of things. I'm not entirely. Oh, I have the wrong thing up. There we go. Wait a sec. There we go. I don't actually know how long this is going to take on either side. There's just no way I can do it in one episode. So I have no idea how long the second episode is going to be, but I think it's going to be 2 full-length episodes for you today. All right, let's get into it. We're just deep diving. Here's what we're deep diving. What position does he play? A bunch of notes about his defense. What kind of isolation defender is he? What kind of screen defender is he? And then so that's on part 1. Part 2 on the offense, we're going to look at points gained, bunch of notes, isolation, post-ups, drives, off-ball screens, pick and roll, shooting. There's a bunch. So I think on the defense one, I might get to some other questions that I know are kind of out there about salary fit, some of those kind of things, how we use him, things like that. So let's get to it. All right. Positional usage. What are the basics on Jaren Jackson Jr.? So the most important number for a defensive player is your standing reach. I was talking to like Austin Ainge this year, I think it was, and Austin was like, basically, when we look at a player and we talk about his height, we're literally just talking about how long his neck is. You really care about how tall he is. So his standing reach is an incredible 9'2". Put that in perspective. Kessler's 9'5". Ace Bailey's 8'11". Taylor Hendricks was 8'11". Kyle Filipowski's 8'11". He's 9'2". That's why Kyle's really a 3. His wingspan is 7'5". So he's 6'10", but he's a much larger 6'10" than what from a defensive standpoint. Like if you look at Jaren Jackson Jr., when you think about him, you've got to think about him as a much taller player than defensively than 6'10". 6'10", 242. I mean, he's really big. That's always what strikes me when I see him in person is he's just much bigger at 242 than I think you would think. But it's a 9'2" standing reach. It's a 7'5" wingspan. So his length is between Ace Bailey and Walker Kessler. Rudy was 9'7". His standing reach, his wingspan at 7'5", like I think Rudy's was 7'8" or 7'9". So guys with a 7'5" wingspan, like that's a pretty, that's an elite group. I'm actually searching 7'5" wingspan. So like the one thing I knew that that you like once I did this, I would be like, oh, there's 3 other things. So Anthony Davis is a 7'5" and a half wingspan. So's Brook Lopez. So's Robert Williams. So's Jared Allen. So that's the way to think of him as a player. Okay. So he's that kind of length and size. Positionally, from a defensive standpoint, and this is where he's not, you're going to see over this process. My big takeaway, by the way, on these 2 episodes are going to be that defensively, he's going to have a real impact. Truthfully, as long as he can play power forward. Offensively, he's not an easy fit. Like, this is not perfection. You're going to see there's some real stuff here where Will Hardy's going to have his hands full a little bit. All right, so let's go, depending on what site you use, on his positional usage over the last few years, he's been bouncing between power forward and center. Here's what's really interesting. When he's at power forward, Memphis's defense this year was 5 points per 100 percentage better. It was 112.1 versus 117 when he's at center. The 2025, the same thing's true. He's at 1.076 as a power forward, 113.3 when he's at a center. In 2024 and 2023 was about the same. And then in 2022 when he wins the defense player of the year, they're in the 92nd percentile if he's a power forward and 93rd percentile when he's a center. So this also might be a Tomas Isolo issue. Remember, Taylor Hendricks is the head coach, and then Isolo, or something's changed about him, frankly. But in the last 2 years, the defense has been dramatically better, 5 points per 100 possessions, when he plays power forward than when he plays center. The rebounding percentile, so where you rank rebounding percentile, when he's on the floor as a center, according to the website Cleaning the Glass, 21st percentile, 38th percentile, 32nd percentile, 18th percentile, 29th percentile. He is a very poor rebounder. What's interesting is actually their overall defensive rebounding percentage was generally up when he was on the floor. So he individually may not be a very good rebounder, but he might be taking care of someone along the way that lets somebody else rebound. But also Zach Edey was around a little bit of last year. So that's worth kind of keeping an eye on, is whether but their overall rebounding when he's at center is very poor in Memphis. So across the board here, he's a power forward defensively, if possible. Now, this will get interesting of whether or not you try to figure out some ways to play him 14 minutes a night at center. Like Walker's playing 32 minutes and maybe he's playing 10 minutes at center and somebody else is playing 10 minutes center. That adds up to a few too many minutes. But generally, one of the big questions people have is what's the situation with Walker Kessler and Jaren Jackson? And then there's a money question, which we'll get into some other episodes. But Walker Kessler needs Jaren Jackson Jr. because Walker Kessler's not very good on some things, and Jaren Jackson Jr. needs Walker Kessler. It's actually, that defensively is a perfect mix. 9'5" and a 9'2" standing reach, and both of them can shot block as well. And you'll see here in a second that as a screen defender, he's fine, not great. And so Walker, frankly, is fine, not great. And so you'll end up seeing that having the weak side, you're going to be able to do some things differently defensively. You'll be able to play at the screen higher. You'll be able to, if you've got Walker in drop coverage but he can play at the screen higher, and you know you've got Markkanen or Jaren Jackson coming around the backside to help, that's going to make a big difference. So as much as possible, my take on Jaren Jackson, what position is he? He's a power forward defensively. And the numbers, at least particularly in the last 2 years. All right. Now we're going to dive into what is his impact of him as a player. What does he do to the defense? What does he do to the rim frequency? What does he do to the rim accuracy? What does he do to half-court defense? What does he do to shooting inside 6 feet? How does he defend in isolation if we're playing switch? And how does he deal with as a screen defender? As we continue on episode 1 of 2, the Jaren Jackson defensive deep dive here on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Thursday edition of Locked On Jazz for you. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're still super happy with everything that's going on with your Utah Jazz. And today's show is brought to you in part by Indeed. If you're looking to hire today or tomorrow or next week or whenever it might be, Indeed is your spot to do it. Indeed is going to make the process easier for you, make it better for you. Indeed.com/podcast is the spot for you to help you get that done, because hiring isn't about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move, because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match your quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your criteria, skills, certifications, and locations. If you're hiring, don't want just someone who can help. You want someone who's going to have a real experience who can jump in. And that's what you like about Indeed, because they can get specific, target exactly what you need. Here's a stat. In the minute we're going to talk about this, companies like yours will have hired 27 people on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed-sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Today's show is also brought to you by our good friends over at Woodward Park City, the easiest place in Utah to learn and experience for the first time skiing and snowboarding. Learn more at Indeed Park City. Snow is on the way this Tuesday. Woodward's done incredible jobs with their snowmaking and trying to make it so that you can still have a wonderful year up there. And what a better year for you to learn with all of the skills they have there. Located just 20 minutes from Salt Lake, Woodward's offers experiential learning in a radically fun and safe environment with facilities for all abilities. The door is always open. The snow hasn't fallen like usual, but they still got the parks and the pits and the ramps and the tramps and back again. And the Mountain Park season pass now for only $4.99. Rip hot laps with a posse after school or into the evening. Maximize mountain time this winter at one of the best terrain parks in Utah all season long. The all-access memberships provide that and gives you up. Plus, if you're just starting out, this is the perfect year to do it. Learn to fly with Woodward Tribe and seasonal multi-week programs that build skills and confidence in Stoke-inspired environments. Maybe that's the spring break for your kids this year. 20 minutes from Salt Lake, all-access membership, and the all-winter mountain pass for just $4.99 at Woodward Park City. Woodward Park City, jump aboard and be a part of the fun this winter at Woodward Park City. And then the snow is going to fall here shortly. I can feel it. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. Everydayers out there, you're the best. We got a plethora of new everydayers. That Discord group is going to be amazing. Welcome to brand new subscriber, Brandon Jensen. Welcome to brand new everydayer, Jacob Gepford. Glad to have you guys both aboard as well. Other brand new subscribers to getting it yesterday. Henry Yaspi, welcome aboard. Matt Hayes, welcome aboard. Ryan Dangerfield, Ryan's been with us for a long time. Welcome aboard. Eric Burgeon, glad to have you aboard as an everydayer on the program, as well as Austin Knighton and Tyler Moeki. We have a promo code right now for I don't want to forget, Kobe Beglin. I wonder if he's related to Robin Beglin. Glad to have you aboard, as well as Ryan Burr. Promo code JJJ gets you 1 month free. All the everydayers yesterday got a extra bonus episode of their specific questions. And that's the kind of bonus episode you get. Plus, you get a newsletter at the end of every day. Plus, you get one-on-one texting with me throughout all of this, trying to answer your questions for you. Plus, you got Lowry Market and Sound practice yesterday. Plus, you get Leaf to Lean's bonus coverage and breakdown of the draft for you. Plus, you get access to the Locked On merch store for you. So it's all available at Locked On LockedOnJazz.supercast.com. Use the promo code JJJ and get 1 month free. It's $15 a month for all access. It's $5 a month. Get you access to our Discord channel as well as ad-free. The special Jazz community on Discord. Be a part of that. We're going to build the best Jazz community out there with all the smartest fans who listen to Locked On Jazz, because there's nothing worse than talking to a dumb, stupid Jazz fan. I don't think we're stupid with bonehead organization. Shut up. Go away. I don't want to talk to you anymore. We're not friends. Okay, anyway. Be a part of good, cool people at the Discord channel. Be part of the community. So for $5 a month, you get Locked On Jazz ad-free. You get access to the Discord community, and you get Locked On Sports Day. For $15, you get all the extra bonus stuff. Go to LockedOnJazz.supercast.com. All right, defense. Love to have you aboard. So when Jaren Jackson's on the floor, they're 2 percentage points better field goal percentage when he's on. And the defensive impact of Jaren Jackson Jr. is real. At the rim, he's 6% better. The interesting question that everyone's asking about Jaren Jackson is what happened to the block rate. So it's either the team stopped challenging him, because like Victor's block rate is dropping, but his block rate was 4% of all shots he blocked for a long time, and it dropped in the 23-24 season to 2.5%. So what happened to the block rate? But universally, in the last, and I looked at everything on Jaren Jackson in both these episodes as last 5 years. He didn't play really much 6 years ago, and 5 years seems to be like the appropriate time. So listen to this impact. The defense with him on the floor, 4 points per 100 possessions better this year. 6th the year before. Middle year was +1. They were actually better without him. Then minus 5.5 and minus 4.8. So in 4 of the last 5 years, he impacted the defense 4 or 5 points per 100 possessions. That's massive. That is massive. And in the years in which he was good, they were good. It was because the rim frequency went down. So their teams are taking 7% fewer shots at the rim this year when Jaren Jackson's on the floor than when he's off the floor. Big difference. Last year was actually only 0.4. The year before was positive 0.5. And then 2 years prior to that were minus 4% and minus 3%. So that is a big difference. The rim defensive accuracy as a team, when Jaren Jackson is on the floor, is real. This year it's 4 percentage points better. Last year was 6. Year before that it was 2. Year before that it was 9. Year before that it was 8. Massive numbers. Massive numbers. So Jaren Jackson on the floor, team shot 4 percentage points less well at the rim than they did if he's off the floor this year. 6 percentage points less well than when he was on the floor last year. 2%, then 4 years ago was 9% and 8%. There's a drop there. Like, there's something to go for Will Hardy, and Will Hardy's close with Taylor Jenkins, who was his head coach then, to go back and look and talk to Taylor and say, hey, what were the differences here? As much as Will says you don't go check with an ex-girlfriend, but I don't think that's a bad relation. Those two got along. Tomas Isolo, I probably am not calling about Jaren Jackson. These are the numbers that really matter. His defensive impact is going to be awesome. Half court. When he's on the floor, the half court defense was 5.5 points per 100 possessions better this year. Last year was only 1.7, and then in that middle year was actually better with him off the floor. That middle year is weird. Then 4 years ago was minus 5 again, which it is this year, and minus 4 the year before that. You don't have a lot of NBA players. These are all these are numbers that are out in space right now because they're hard to compare them to anything. You don't have a lot of NBA players who, when they're on the floor, you have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 percentage point differences. That's really rare. So to have a rim frequency difference of 7% is a big deal. To have rim accuracy at 6, 7, 8, 9%, that's a big deal. Here's the really dramatic stuff. When he's the closest defender inside 6 feet, and now I think he's a power forward defensively, and we're spreading the floor, so he's got to get there somehow. Like, that's the challenge he has defensively, is that because of the fact that he's no longer just playing drop center, and we'll get into that if he's any good at that, and because of the rebounding, you now have to get him to the rim. when he's the defender inside 6 feet, and he defends over the last 5 years, he's defended between 4.7 shots at the rim and 6. It's pretty 6.5. So he's going to defend about 5.5 shots a night at the rim. It's not a huge number, but like to put that in perspective, and I'll have to look this up for a second. Of like, what is a huge number? I have so many tabs open. What is a huge number in regards to that? Let me give you like Rudy. Again, this also gets to be a funky one because teams stop challenging guys. And so that's a little bit of a trick sometimes here. But inside 6 feet is what we're going to look at here. To give you an idea, Alex Sarr defends the most in the NBA at 10. Evan Mobley, Nikola Jokic, Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis, Alfred Şengün, Derek Queen, Joel Embiid are at 7. Walker was actually at 8.6 this year, but that's 5 games. And then the other guys are all at 6, and he's at 6.3. Excuse me, he's at 5.8. So he's middle of the pack of big men getting, probably because of the positional change, right? Jaden McDaniels is about the same amount of shots at the rim. Victor Wembanyama is, but that's because nobody's challenging him. Teams are shooting 6 percentage points less than average when he's at the rim. So the shots that he's defended at the rim, players should have shot 62.7%, and they shoot 56.4%. That's significant. Victor's -8. Zubac's actually one of the leaders at -11. Jaden's -6. Luke Cornett has always been one of the best, is -9. Rudy Gobert is the best, is always is -11. Chet Holmgren's -14. So he's good this year, but not uber elite. But last year he was uber elite. In the 24-25 season, he defended 4.7 shots at the rim. Again, not a high volume, probably because that's like there's probably 60 guys in the league that defend more shots at the rim per night. However, of those players, he was at -13.8. -13.8. Daniel Gafford was better. Kristaps Porzingis was better of guys that actually play, and that's it. So last year, he was the third most impactful rim defender in the NBA. Victor was -13.3, and Jaren Jackson was -13.8. Donovan Clingan was -12.3. Anthony Davis -12.3. Put that in perspective. Luke Cornett, always one of the best. What a great pickup by the Spurs, -12. The middle year, 6 of them a night, which was more, -8. 4 years ago, 6.5 defenses at the rim, -12.9, elite. And 5 rim shots at -14. So in 3 of the last 5 years, he's been elite. That's real. He's going to have a massive impact to defending the rim. How is he as an isolation defender if we're switching? How is he if he's a screen defender if we're playing drop? Those are next on the deep dive of Jaren Jackson's defensive impact, next on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you in part by TurboTax. Oops, I went too early. Today's show is brought to you in part by TurboTax. TurboTax, taxes don't need to take over your life. Instead, you can get a local person to help you with it tax season. TurboTax is making it easier for you just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything with W-2s to self-employment forms. Work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in your TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver. It gives you real peace of mind knowing expert is handling it for a limited time. You can have your taxes done by local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. So just file by February 28th. Take your taxes off your plate and get back to your life, and visit TurboTax.com/local. That's TurboTax.com/local TurboTax.com/local. Get it done this year without the problems. TurboTax.com/local. Don't let taxes dominate your life. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Sunday, Seahawks. Go Hawks. Go Hawks. Go Hawks. It's your last call for football on FanDuel on a final Sunday. One last kickoff. The final chance to get into the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60. FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of all the action. A special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year, whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay. This is a game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays. Stats turn into storylines, and every snap is bigger. If you're a new customer, just $5. Get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after Super Bowl Sunday, the season's over. Last call for football at FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. That's FanDuel.com to get started today. Jaren Jackson defensive deep dive. We will have another episode, the Jaren Jackson offensive deep dive, that will be posted a little bit later today for you. All right, let's go to defense. Isolation defense. He's elite. Elite. Will Hardy, this is where he's going to have an impact. 1 through 4 switching, playing him as a non-center. People want to switch him. He's elite. His defensive isolation numbers for the last 5 years on isolation are 0.88. What does this mean? Like, that's what I always give you these numbers. I always try very hard to give you these numbers inside of some concept that makes sense. 0.88, 0.92, 0.75, 0.92, 0.73. Okay. So let me try to put this in context. Over the last 5 years, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the 4th best isolation defender in the NBA. Lou Dort, Jason Tatum, Paul George, Jaren Jackson Jr. In the last 4 years, he's the number 7 isolation defender in the NBA. He is Lou Dort, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brunson, Jalen Williams, Pat Williams, Bam Adebayo. Jaren Jackson. The last 3 years, he's the number 7 isolation defender. Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Jalen Brunson, Luke Cornett, Bam Adebayo, Jaren Jackson. Now, this is the question. In the last 2 years, he ranks 47th out of 159th. And this year, he ranks 20th out of 110. Like, if you just choose a number in there. So what's happened? 0.88 and 0.92 are super good. Really, really good. They're like 20th. They're like top 15%. Okay? Right? Like 20th out of 109 is, you're in the 18th, you're in the 84th, 85th percentile. It's really good. It's not top 4. It's not the 97th percentile. So what's happened there? Who knows? Lots been going on in Memphis, but we're going to find out. Can Will Hardy get Jaren Jackson Jr. back to the isolation defender that is top 4, top 7 in the NBA, 95th percentile, instead of the guy who's over the last 2 years in the 75th percentile, and in the last year, back up to the 84th percentile? Screen defender. So he's playing pick and roll. Elite is 0.92 or less. He's 0.95. So he's 21st out of 102 over the last 5 years. 21 out of 102 over the last 5 years. It's interesting. This year he's a 0.93. So that's borderline elite. 0.92 or less is elite. Last year is 0.96. Not great. 3 years ago, that weird year, right? That year where he's just never, like, where we kind of went through it. He doesn't have as big an impact. He's 1.01. Be interesting to find out what was off in 23-24, because all of his defensive numbers are like over the 5 years are very consistent, and then 23-24 is a weird year. I don't know if he got banged up. What was going on? Like, they're humans. They're not robots. But if you look at his defense over the year, it's 0.93 last year, this year, 0.96 last year, 1.01, weird, 0.95 right back, 0.89 5 years ago. 0.89 is like superstar elite because 0.92 is elite on screen defense. So my overall takeaway, he's going to have a massive impact on us defensively, which thank God because we're terrible defensively. He's going to have a massive impact on us defensively. He's incredibly long. He's got great wingspan. He's a better power forward than he is a center defensively. He's not a good rebounder. He's a great isolation defender. He has not been as good the last 2 years. How does he get back to being great? He has a massive impact on the rim defensively, one of the best rim defenders in the NBA. Again, this year has not been as big. Can he get back to those numbers? He is a elite level defensive player. 2-time all-defensive player of the year. This is a massive defensive player for the Utah Jazz. We will post the offensive episode coming up here in a little bit. It's not as clear. Will Artie's got some work to do to figure out the offensive mix, so catch that episode as well. This has been the Jaren Jackson defensive deep dive today on Locked On Jazz. If you want more of this kind of stuff, these geeky numbers, having them text you, go back and forth, have questions for me, join the All Access Club at lockedonjazz.supercast.com. That's lockedonjazz.supercast.com. Follow me on socials at dlock09. And I regularly would tell you to go grab the next edition of Locked On NBA. We will send you on video to the first ever national NBA channel, Locked On NBA, but also go grab our offensive deep dive episode coming up here on Locked On Jazz.